The storm had ripped through the small town of Rockford, Texas like a wild beast. Heavy rain flooded the streets, power lines lay broken, and the sky was still dark even though it was late afternoon. Sirens echoed in the distance while people searched for safety and lost belongings. Near the edge of the highway, an old couple slowly walked through the wet road, holding hands tightly so neither would fall. Their names were Henry and Martha Collins. They had been married for over 50 years. Their small wooden house near the river had been destroyed when the storm pushed water into their neighborhood. With nothing but a small bag and the clothes they were wearing, they were trying to reach a relief shelter several miles away. Henry's back was bent with age, but he still tried to stay strong for Martha. Martha's shoes were soaked, and every step hurt, yet she kept moving. Inside Henry's small bag were their medicines, some cash, and a few old photographs, their whole life in one fragile pouch. As they crossed the road, a loud motorcycle engine suddenly roared behind them. The sound made Martha jump in fear. A large black biker stopped just a few feet away. He wore a leather jacket and a helmet with scratches from many long rides. Slowly, he removed the helmet, revealing a serious face with tired eyes. In a deep voice, he said, "Put it down." Henry froze. His heart began to pound. He thought the biker wanted to take their bag. He stepped slightly in front of Martha, trying to protect her. "Please," Henry said weakly, "this is all we have left." The biker did not move closer, but he raised his hand again. "Put it down. You're shaking too much. You might fall." Henry looked confused. His hands were trembling, and the bag felt heavy. Rainwater dripped from his jacket. His legs were weak from walking for hours. Martha gently touched his arm. "Henry, maybe he's trying to help." Slowly, Henry lowered the bag to the wet ground. His knees almost gave out. The biker rushed forward just in time to catch him before he fell. "Easy," the biker said softly. "You've been through enough today." Henry looked up in surprise. The biker's voice no longer sounded harsh, it was full of concern. "My name is Jack," he said. "I saw you two from the road. You shouldn't be out here in this weather." Martha wiped her tears. "Our home is gone," she whispered. "We don't know where to go." Jack looked at the small bag on the ground, then at their tired faces. He knew they had lost everything. Without saying another word, he picked up the bag and handed it back to Henry carefully. "There's a shelter about 5 miles from here," Jack said. "I can take you there." For the first time since the storm began, Henry felt a small spark of hope. He squeezed Martha's hand tightly, grateful that even in the darkest moment, a stranger had stopped to care. Jack helped Henry and Martha sit safely on his large touring motorcycle. He gave Martha his dry jacket and carefully tied the small bag behind the seat so it wouldn't fall. The road was still wet and broken, but Jack drove slowly, making sure every turn was smooth. As they moved through the ruined town, the couple saw what the storm had done: collapsed roofs, broken cars, and people standing outside their homes in shock. Martha held Henry tightly. "So much gone in just one night," she whispered. Jack nodded. "Storms don't ask permission," he said. "They just take." After several minutes, they reached a small emergency shelter set up inside a high school gym. Red Cross workers were helping families, giving out blankets and hot soup. When Jack stopped the bike, Henry and Martha carefully stepped down, their legs weak but their hearts grateful. Inside, warmth filled the air. Volunteers rushed to help the couple. Martha began to cry. Again, this time not from fear, but from feeling safe for the first time since the storm began. Jack stood quietly nearby. He was not a man of many words, but he felt something deep inside when he saw their tears. He had lost his own parents years ago and couldn't help but see them in Henry and Martha. Henry walked over to Jack, holding the small bag in his hands. "You saved us today," he said. "We don't even know how to thank you." Jack shook his head. "I just did what anyone should do." Martha opened the bag and took out an old photo. It showed her and Henry when they were young, smiling in front of their first little house. "We lost our home," she said softly, "but we didn't lose our life together." Jack looked at the picture, then at them. "That's the part that matters most," he replied. A shelter worker came over and told Henry and Martha they could stay there for the night. They would be helped with food, medicine, and a place to sleep. Hearing that, Henry's shoulders finally relaxed. He felt like he could breathe again. As Jack prepared to leave, Martha grabbed his hand. "Please, don't forget us." Jack smiled gently. "I won't." He climbed back onto his motorcycle and slowly drove away into the fading storm clouds. The rain had stopped, but the sky was still dark. Inside the shelter, Henry and Martha sat together under a warm blanket. They had lost their house, their memories, and everything familiar. Their hearts were heavy with sorrow. Yet, because of one stranger's kindness, they still had each other, and hope. That night, even though their world was shattered, a small light remained. And sometimes, that is enough to keep going. The morning sun slowly rose over the shelter, casting soft light through the high school gym windows. Henry and Martha had barely slept. The storm might have ended, but their minds were full of worries. Volunteers walked around, handing out breakfast and checking on families. The smell of coffee and bread filled the air, but neither of them felt hungry. A young relief worker approached them with a clipboard. "Mr. and Mrs. Collins," she asked gently. Henry nodded. "Yes, that's us. There's been an update about your neighborhood," she said quietly. "We were able to reach the emergency team that went there after the storm." Martha squeezed Henry's hand tightly. "The river rose much higher than expected," the worker continued. "Most of the houses near it were completely washed away. I'm so sorry. Your home is one of them." Martha covered her mouth. Henry felt like the ground had disappeared under his feet. Their home, the place where they had raised their children, celebrated birthdays, and built a lifetime of memories, was gone forever. "We knew it was bad," Henry whispered, "but, gone." The worker nodded. There was nothing left to save. Martha leaned against Henry's shoulder, tears rolling down her cheeks. He held her, but he felt just as broken inside. 50 years of life had been erased in one night. Later that day, Jack returned to the shelter. He had spent the night helping other stranded people, but he couldn't stop thinking about the old couple. When he saw them sitting quietly with blank expressions, he knew something was wrong. Jack walked over. "What happened?" Henry slowly told him about the news. Jack clenched his jaw. He had seen storms destroy things before, but seeing the pain in their eyes was different. "I'm so sorry," Jack said. Martha looked up. "We don't even have a place to go now." Jack was silent for a moment. Then he spoke carefully. "I don't have much, but I have a small place outside town. It's not fancy, but it's dry and safe. You can stay there until you figure things out." Henry stared at him in shock. "You would do that for us?" Jack nodded. "My parents were once helped by strangers when they had nothing. I never forgot that." Martha began to cry again, but this time there was a hint of relief. That evening, Jack drove them to his small house near the edge of the countryside. It was simple, but warm. Henry and Martha sat inside, feeling both sad and grateful at the same time. They had lost everything, but kindness had found them when they needed it most. Jack's small countryside home was quiet, surrounded by open fields and tall trees. It was far from the noise of the storm, yet the silence felt strange to Henry and Martha. That first night, they sat together on the small couch, holding hands, unsure of what tomorrow would bring. The walls were different, the smell was unfamiliar, and nothing felt like home, but at least they were safe. Jack made them hot tea and placed a warm blanket over their shoulders. "You can stay as long as you need," he said. Martha smiled weakly. "You don't know what this means to us." Over the next few days, Jack did everything he could to help them feel comfortable. He took them to get new clothes, helped Henry replace his lost medicine, and even found Martha a small sewing kit when he learned she used to love sewing. Slowly, the fear in their eyes began to fade, but the sadness remained. One afternoon, Henry stood outside, staring at the sky. Jack walked over. "You're thinking about your old house, aren't you?" Jack asked. Henry nodded. "That house was our life. Every wall had a memory." Jack didn't reply right away. He understood loss more than most people. Later that night, Martha went through their small bag. She found a few old photographs that had survived the storm. She and Henry looked at them together. Weddings, birthdays, and their children when they were young. The memories were beautiful, but painful. "I feel like a part of me is gone," Martha whispered. Henry held her close. "We still have each other." But deep inside, both of them were afraid of what the future held. They didn't want to be a burden to Jack forever. The next morning, Jack received a phone call from the local recovery office. When he hung up, his face looked serious. "The government is offering some help for storm victims," he told them. "But it will take time. There are a lot of people who lost everything." Henry sighed. "We don't have time. We're old." Jack looked at them, then made a quiet decision. "You're not alone," he said firmly. "We'll get through this together." That evening, Jack helped Henry write down everything they had lost, so they could apply for aid. Martha cooked a simple dinner, trying to feel useful. For the first time since the storm, there was a small feeling of purpose in the house. But even with a roof over their heads, their hearts were still heavy. They missed their home, their neighbors, and the life they had known for so long. Still, kindness had given them a place to stand when everything else had fallen apart. The storm had taken their home, but maybe it hadn't taken their future yet.